Pele Yoetz. In the entry, we're going to finish entry Ahavat Banim Banot, loving the sons and the daughters. He says, a person has to make sure to guard his daughters. You got to guard the daughters very much. He says that what? In order to plan, you don't know what's going to be their lot, who they're going to marry. You have to make sure they marry someone proper. The Gemara says, whoever marries his daughter to Amaris, it's as if she's forcing her in front of the lion. What does it mean, the lion? He's going to be cruel with her. He's going to be harsh with her. She's going to be able to handle it. So if a person should not marry off his daughter to Amaris, yes, could be he's a millionaire. Yes, could be he's going to promise her a life of luxury and riches. It does not mean she's going to have a good life. There are women who are married to millionaires, but she lives worse than the life of a pauper. Why? Because she's poor, not in money. She's poor in a relationship. She doesn't have a relationship with her husband. Her husband's always somewhere else. Her husband doesn't treat her properly. Her husband doesn't have midot because he doesn't learn Torah, because he's Amaris. So therefore, a person has to make sure to marry his daughter, preferably to Famil Chacham, a person who goes, as they say, Torah way. He has to go Torah way. Yeah. So then says the Yoetz, Lelamdan bechol melechet nashim. You got to teach the daughters the jobs of the woman, right? They have to be professionals in the kitchen, professionals in sewing, professionals in what women do. Women do what women do. He says, you have to raise your daughters to be accustomed to sleeping very little. Not like these daughters who are in high school and they teach their daughters, they come down from upstairs, right, at 12 o'clock for the meal. And they slept from the night before till 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Mazeh. So then what happens when they get married, the husband's going to come home and say, where's everything ready? No, I was sleeping. What do you mean sleeping? We have things to do. We have kids. You have this. I have to sleep in. Who says you have to sleep in? What do you mean? This is your job. This is your job. We need you. We need you at this moment. I'm used to sleeping in every day till 12 o'clock on Shabbat morning because that's how I did my father's house. So therefore, it's on the father to raise the daughter to be used to what? One day you're going to be married. One day you're going to have to take on responsibilities. You can't continue living like this.
The same for your father's house.
So says the Pele Yoetz, you have to give them constantly good advice. Soon you're going to be married. Soon you're going to have to do this. Soon you're going to do that. Be ready for it. I'm giving you good advice. Whenever this happens, you should do this. Whenever that happens, you should constantly prepare them in order to give them the advice. They should be ready and not be forced to learn on the job. He says, and therefore, in general, when you're raising the kids, you have to be chacham. What is chacham? He's 2 steps ahead. He doesn't fight with his kid once his kid gets in the situation. You prevent your kids from getting in the situation first. And how do you do that? He says you have to guard your kids from what? From bad sources, from bad environments, which is their phones. You have to make sure you know what's on their phones. They could learn nonsense from on the social media today. You don't know what sickness you could get physically, but you could also get a sickness in your neshama. You could learn some nonsense from something, some trend, something the goyim do, and they'll learn it and they think it's cool and think it's good to do. Or you also have to be careful who your friends of your kids are, right? Show me who your friends and I'll know who you are. Therefore, I know personally a person who was a really good kid, very good kid. He always went to good yeshivas. He was a dvash. He was a sweet. He had bad friends one year in school. That's it. He became narcoman. And he went slowly to the point where he can even become a drug dealer. He came to a point where a person became so lost. His family is religious. His family sent him to the yeshiva all his life. But what? He had bad friends. That's it. He fell off the path. And not because he's a bad kid, just because they're bad friends. So therefore, a person has to be on top of who his friends play with, who his kids play with, who are their friends, and he has to keep them away from all these bad things. That's why a person has to have siyata d'shmaya. He has to have help from Shamayim that he should raise his kids properly. There's a famous story where the Brisker Rav, alav shalom, Rabbi alav shalom, where the guy came to say, Rabbi, bless my son with fear of heaven and he should study Torah. So he said, it's not up to me. What do you mean it's not up to you? He says, how much Yirat Shamayim he has, depends how much his mother cries for him in the lighting of the Shabbat candles. And how much Torah he learns is based on how much his father learns with him. It's not up to me. So therefore a person has to do ishtalut. You have to pray, learn, pray that your children should be zocheh. It used to be the kids died in the plagues, bubonic plague, black plague, polio, all these things. Today, what's the plague? It's the streets. That your kids shouldn't fall in the trap of the streets. the trap of the drugs, the trap of the life of all the nonsense that goes outside, you should pray that they should protect it, because there's a flood of atheists, there's a flood of pesha, there's a flood of doing bad things. The person should put his kids into the ark of Noach, which is your house, and keep them closer than ever.